Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 4. Ambarish Maharaja offended by Durvasa Muni, text number 68. And this is a particular verse that Srila Prabhupada quotes many times and speaks on the subject of Vaishnava Aparada. Sadavo Hridayam Mayam Sarunam Hridayam Tvaham Manayatenam Jananti Naham Tebhyo Manam Api Sarvo Hridayam Mayam Sarunam Hridayam Tvaham Adayam Tena Jananti Naham Tebhyo Mana Api Sarvo Hridayam Mayam Sarunam Hridayam Tvaham Ananyatena Janante Naham Tebhyo Mana Api
Sadavo Hridayam Mayam Sadunam Hridayam Tvaham Madanyatena Jananti Naham Tebhyo Managapi
Sadavo Hridayam Mayam
Sadunam Hridayam Tvaham
Aranyatena Jananti Naham Tebhyo Managati
Ladies?
Sadavo Hridayam Mayam Sadunam Hridayam Tvaham Madanyatena Jananti Naham Tebhyo Managati Sadavo Hridayam Mayam Sadunam Hridayam Tvaham Madanyatena Jananti Naham Tebhyo Managati Sadavo Hridayam Mayam Sadunam Hridayam Tvaham
Sarva, the pure devotees, Hridayam, in the core of the heart, Mayam, of me, Sarunam, of the pure devotees also, Hridayam, in the core of the heart, two, indeed, aham, I am, mat anat, anything else but me, te, na, not, janati, no, na, not, aham, I, tebhya, them, manak api, even by a little fraction. This is a verse that is fundamental to the entire process of Krishna consciousness. A verse that Srila Prabhupada liked to quote a lot and also comment on a lot. So, the pure devotees are always within the core of my heart. This is actually Lord Vishnu speaking. The pure devotees are always within the core of my heart, and I am always in the core of the heart of the pure devotee. My devotees do not know anything else but me, and I do not know anyone else but them. Please repeat, the pure devotee is always within the core of my heart. And I am always in the heart of the pure devotee. My devotees do not know anything else but me. And I do not know anyone else but them. Purport. Since the Rasa Muni wanted to chastise Maharaja Ambarish, it is to be understood that he wanted to give pain to the heart of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord said, Salyo Hridayam Mayam. The pure devotee is always within the core of my heart. The Lord's feelings are like those of a father who feels pain when his child is in pain. Therefore, offenses at the lotus feet of the devotee are serious. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has very strongly recommended one not commit any offenses at the lotus feet of a devotee. Such offenses are compared to a mad elephant because when a mad elephant enters a garden, it causes devastation. Therefore, one should be extremely careful not to commit offenses at the lotus feet of a pure devotee. Actually, Maharaj Ambarish was not at all at fault. Durvasa Muni unnecessarily wanted to chastise him on flimsy grounds. Maharaj Ambarish wanted to complete the Kadasi Pranaya as part of the devotional service to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore he drank a little water. But although Durvasa Muni was a great mystic Brahmana, he did not know what is what. This is the difference between a pure devotee and a so-called learned scholar of Vedic knowledge. The devotees, being always situated in the core of the Lord's heart, surely get all instructions directly from the Lord as confirmed by the Lord himself in Bhagavad Gita 10:11. Tesham evanukam partam maham agyanajham tamaham nasyayam yatmam bhavasto jnanadipena bhasvata. Translation. Out of compassion for them, I, dwelling within their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. The devotee does not know anything not sanctioned by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As it is said, Vaishnavera kriya mudra vigeya na bhujhaya. Even the most learned or experienced person cannot understand the movements of a Vaishnava, a pure devotee. No one therefore should criticize a pure Vaishnava. A Vaishnava knows his own business. Whatever he does is precisely right, because he is always guided by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Om Agyanti Mirandasya Ginantana Salakaya Chaksu Militam Nena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimakti Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaurvadi Pacharine Yudhisesa Sunyavadi Paschatya Neshatarine Vanchakalpa Turuvishya Kripa Sindhu Vedivasha Patitanam Bhavanevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasati Gaur Bhaktivinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So, the Rasa Muni becomes envious of a great personality, but he can't recognize his personality as being great. He thinks, well, he's a king, and he's engaged in material activities, and he's given so much praise and so much glorification. What is this? He's unhappy to see what he decides is something else than what it actually is. It's called judging without understanding. Happens all the time, right? We make a conclusion about a situation and we don't really see all of the facts, or we don't even know all of the circumstances that surround something. There's two things. One is called seeing things by circumstance and seeing things by character. There's a difference. Sometimes a great soul will do something that apparently seems to be outside of the norm, or a breach of etiquette. We might say, this is what Durvasa Muni judged Maharaja Ambarish. He was thinking, well, it's not proper etiquette to say you're going to feed your guest and then you take something before the guest. And that's outside of culture, that's out of etiquette, that is considered to be bad manners, you might say. It's not an offense, but it's not done by people who have some knowledge. Now, but Maharaja Ambarish was instructed by his ministers, well, it's time for the breaking of the fast, and he had been fasting for a year. And the TT time is considered a time where the benefit of the fast is broken, and that broken at that time, and one gets the benefit of that fast. And so in order to achieve that, the minister said, hey, now it's time. But he couldn't. So they decided, oh, take a little water. Because Prabhupada says, he comments, he says, water is eating and not eating. It depends. You can look at it from both positions. It can be applied in both ways. So in one sense, if you take water, you're not breaking the fast. And if you're on near Jalakadasi, you are. You see the difference. So here we find that the Rasa Muni is saying, just see what a low-class person this person is. He's judging a little circumstance that really is not even to be judged, and it applies it to his character, rather than seeing that, okay, maybe he went a little bit outside of the behavior, but really he didn't. But even if it seemed that way, he judged his character and not the incident. Sometimes we do that. You'll see, we'll speak about that in upcoming classes. This is one of the big principles in the Ramayana. To see something and that is not the character of the person, but they just happen to do something, and blame it on their character. Yeah. Well, we like to do that, right? We condemn someone, oh, look how they are. But it's not them, it's just some circumstance that they act outside of the ordinary. So we got the example here. But the Rasa Muni doesn't like the idea that Maharaja Ambarish is a great king, but he's given the eulogy as a great devotee. So he's saying, let me test him. And so he apparently thinks that his test is successful, and he's caused this person to act according to a wrong activity, which is not. When one is covered by one of these 6 anarthas, lust, anger, greed, illusion, pride, and envy, one can't see things clearly or correctly. So how do you see things clearly and at the same time function still covered by these things? You have to see through the scriptures. You have to see through the eyes of the pure devotees. You have to see through the eyes of the Lord, who teaches us how to see things. And so Durvasa Muni didn't. He was simply looking for a fault. And there was no fault, but he somehow or other felt, fault. Here is a fault. And then he acted in a very heavy way. It was almost like what Indra did to the residents of Vrindavan when Krishna somehow foiled his sacrifice, tried to kill the residents of Vrindavan. My God. Just because of because Krishna had said, don't worship Indra. Heavy, right? Envy. What is this envy? Prabhupada talks about it in different ways. And he says we fall to this material world because of this characteristic we're calling. It's actually not a characteristic, it's actually, we call it an enemy of the soul. But it can happen, and it happens to even the best personalities. Prabhupada makes a very strong statement. He says, because we fall from the material world because of envy of Krishna, we don't like Krishna being the center. Because he's getting all the praise, he's getting all the eulogies. And everyone goes on like that, but sometimes it's hard to understand. This is like, we call it the $64,000 question. That's a USA term. Only Chinatown knows what I'm talking about when I say that. It's the question where everyone asks and the answer is never really given in a very, what we say, conclusive way. And then how do we fall from the spiritual world? Well, Prabhupada makes that point. That because we want to be the center, and somehow Krishna got that position. That's what it says, Ekala Isha Krishna Asabrita. There's only one personality who is the greatest, or the Lord, and that is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And everyone else is his servant. Nityo Nityanam Chaitanas Chaitananam. So, in this situation, and Prabhupada makes a nice point. He says, and because the living entity falls to the material world because of that, and then that is the activities of the material world. Everyone is envious of everybody else. He said, this is material life. And then Prabhupada qualifies that by saying that the difference between spiritual life and material life is the difference between envious and non-envious. He makes a clear statement. He says, if you're envious, you're in the material consciousness, a material world, he says, and if you're non-envious, you're in the spiritual world. Such a, what we say, a cutting-edge quality. How do you get rid of envy? Durvasa Muni didn't. He wanted to react on it. What did he do? He tried to kill Ambarish Maharaj. And Ambarish Maharaj only knew one thing. When he saw this fiery demon created by Ambarish Maharaj, what did he do? So he took shelter of Krishna. And he thought of Krishna within his heart. And Krishna was there. Rake Krishna Moreke, More Krishna Rakeke. Krishna wants to kill someone, can't do anything about it. And if Krishna wants to protect, no powerful force anywhere in existence can do anything different. That's Krishna. So Krishna is there for his devotee, and he gave complete protection. Immediately, he sent his chakra to kill the demon. And now Durvasa is in trouble because the chakra is now going after Durvasa. So he's getting an immediate reaction for his offense. And he's running from this place and that place. He goes to Brahmaloka and says, he's praying. He's a powerful mystic. He can fly through the cosmos at great speeds. He reaches Brahmaloka. Brahma says, it's Vishnu's chakra. Nothing I can do. And so now he goes to Shiva Loka. Now Shiva is actually his worshipful Lord. And Shiva says the same thing. You're in trouble. If you want any help, go to Vishnu. Now and then apparently as the storyline unfolds, it says that he actually went to Vishnu Loka and took shelter in a very desperate way at the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. But Shiva Ram Maharaj writes in his one book, he says, and he quotes other sources And it says that actually Lord Vishnu did not appear to him. But what appeared to him was Lord Vishnu expanded himself into a form of himself, because he didn't want to go personally to meet this offender. So he presented another form of himself, which was, I don't know how it's described, but it wasn't the original Vishnu form. That's how it's described. And so now he's praying, and the Lord is giving the ultimate situation. That the devotees who give their life to me in devotional service, that's all I know. I only know them. They are so dear to me. And even Krishna says, for my devotee, I will sacrifice anything. It's even when the 4 Kumaras were somehow or other offended, or, by the gatekeepers in Vrindavan, or was it Vaikuntha, yeah. And that discourse, or kind of like going back and forth, was alerted by the Lord. He immediately came to see the situation, and when he realized the 4 Kumaras had actually been offended by his gatekeepers, he spoke in so many ways, and one thing he said is that, my devotee is so dear to me that I would even give up my own existence, he says, his own life. Of course, he's eternal. He can't. But he's making a point. And that point is that, there's no one more dear to me than my devotee. Even myself is not as dear to me as my devotee. So this is a very essential principle to understand, because it's the foundation for success in Krishna consciousness. We should worship the devotee as much as we worship the Lord. No, not really, that's wrong. That's a mistake. We should worship the devotee more than we worship the Lord. That's correct. As Krishna says in one verse from the Adi Puran, one who says he's my devotee is not my devotee. One who says he's a devotee of my devotee is actually my devotee. He makes that point many times. So how dear are the devotees of the Lord? And then you might say, well, that pertains to the pure devotees. But, that's not every devotee, is it? Question, huh? But you don't know. How do you know who's a pure devotee and who's not? We might say there's certain indications in there, but it's never really clear, because you can't tell the heart of a devotee. You may get some understanding. So the clear understanding, or the correct understanding, is all devotees are special. As Prabhupada said, quoting Lord Chaitanya's verse, Gopi Bhatter Pate Kamalayor, Das Anudas, that I'm not, who am I? I'm actually the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of the damsels of Vrindavan. I was just discussing with one devotee just recently, and he was bringing up a particular verse from Mukunda Mula Stotra by King Kulashekar, yeah. Beautiful verse. Not the one that Prabhupada quotes all the time, but a different verse. In that verse, it explains that what is the highest principle of position that one can attain in Krishna consciousness. In the material world, where the higher principles are, is to be in good position, to have wealth, to have power, to have control, to have followers, Dhanam, Janam, Sundaram, so many characteristics that are indicated of success in the material realm. But in the spiritual realm, it's the opposite. Is the lower you are, the better position you are to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What does that mean? Low? That means one who sees themselves. And in this verse by King Kulashekar, he said, servant of the 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 servant. 7 times. He makes the point. Not just 4, which we usually say, but 7 here. So it is that's the highest position, because there's a discussion going on. What is the highest position one can attain in devotional service? not just servant, but servant. And Prabhupada even takes that even farther. He says 100 times removed. So nobody likes that word servant, right? It's like, whoa. You know, servant, you know, it's somebody that can't do anything, so they just, you know, hang around waiting for orders, right? But it's not like that. A servant is actually the most glorious situation, and Krishna makes that point here. And that it's so dear to Krishna. So, but when one offends, and the Maharaja Durvasa Muni was really in trouble. Krishna said, Lord Vishnu said, "You're coming to me for relief. I can't give you that. I don't have that power." The Lord is actually saying, I can't give you that relief. Only Maharaj Ambarish can give you that relief. That's the only person. I am controlled by the love of my devotee. And if my devotee wants to free you from the reaction, then my chakra will stop. Otherwise, I have no power to stop it. That's good. That's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's the same thing. We have the example of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when Sri Ras Thakur was offended by this Gopal Chapala. And Gopal Chapala came down with leprosy, severe case of leprosy. And he was suffering. And at one time, Mahaprabhu passed the area where he was staying, and he begged the Lord, please get rid of my suffering.